Welcome to Kimmel's Irish Pub. Time for another movie review. Tonight's movie, The God Committee. So this is about an organ transplant committee who has to decide within 1 hour which one of 3 patients gets a heart they need to survive. And then, evidently, 7 years later, they're dealing with the consequences of their decision. Sounds kind of interesting. Now, 5.4 on IMDb, but only 411 people have watched it so far. So I'm going to give you a 411 on this one. I know all of you just disconnected. But if you stuck with me, Kelsey Grammer's in it, Julia Stiles is in it, Janeane Garofalo, and that's all I recognize on the first couple of pages. So, hour and 38 minutes long. I'll get into it, find out what it is, give you a better idea, and let you know what I think. So stick around for the 411. I know, sorry. Just, I'll be back. Hey everybody, I want to do a quick check-in here. We're watching The God Committee. We're at the 53-minute, 10-second mark. Catch you up really quick. All of the actors that I named are all the doctors. So Janeane Garofalo, Kelsey Grammer, and Julia Stiles. Now, Kelsey Grammer and Julia Stiles are, it takes place in 2 different eras, I guess. And in 2014, that's when the transplant happens. And that's where they're all part of this committee, the transplant committee, to determine who gets what, kind of thing. And so Kelsey Grammer and Julia Stiles are kind of dating, but then they're both on the committee together with different opinions on who should get the heart. And there's other people on the committee as well. So basically what happens, they have the opportunity to give this heart away. They have an hour to decide, or it's going to expire. And they have 3 candidates, and they start going through each one of the candidates. And as you can imagine, each candidate has some positive and some negatives. One of the big ones is the one candidate's father is going to donate a lot of money. And then they sometimes, so they're all trying to debate this, and then they flash forward to 7 years. So you're kind of seeing what happens, or trying to lead you down the path of what had happened 7 years ago and how it impacted them. A little bit. So it's kind of interesting, and I won't go into too much detail there, but nothing earth-shattering from the 7-year jump. You know what I mean? Like right now it's somewhat insignificant in the storyline. I'm more interested to see what happens in 2014 than 7, and hopefully I'll be able to elaborate a little bit more at the end after I know what happens. But the other piece of it, it's an interesting thing. I like it, but when they're in a committee, and I get it, I guess you would think that it would be all objective. Here's the negative, positive, negatives, whatever you want to say, and there should be pretty much, maybe there's not a clear-cut winner, but and I'm sure there's subjectivity in everyone. Everybody has their opinions and different things like that, but they really go down a rabbit hole with their subjectiveness, and I just think that, man, maybe that's what happens in a transplant committee, that they do that and they take that into consideration. But it just seems to me like there would be certain criteria that says, hey, this is what it is, for the most part. But that's not the way this movie's setting up. So that's the only question I have. But otherwise, it's somewhat interesting. Of course, you're going to be like me. I'm predicting who's going to get the heart, but we'll see what happens. I'm not going to tell you, so you're going to have to watch it yourself. But we'll see how the movie goes and how it plays out. So stick around. I'll be back in a little bit to let you know how it all went. Hey everybody, we're at the credits of The God Committee, and I don't know. I get I could come back to the subjectivity piece of it that I had issues with. They also factor in character, so that could be a little bit subjective there as well. So you're thinking there's character, there's support systems, there's health insurance, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of it's quantifiable, but like character is really not. But they do have that as a piece of it. So I still think they went in a little too deep, down too much of a rabbit hole with some of the subjectivity. But I think the whole point of it is, the morals versus money, in a sense. With the 25 million or all that kind of stuff going into it. It's really, what are people like, and then that kind of thing. Again, the 7 years forward piece, I don't know. It didn't. I thought it was going to be a little bit more impactful on me than it was, or on the viewer or whatever. I thought, like, what was really the impact of the decision that they made or didn't make for everybody else, and how did it really ultimately affect everything? Really not there. I mean, it just seemed like, okay, now this is what they did 7 years later, but really not that much on. They obviously talk about it and discuss it and whatever, and they've done what they've done with their careers past this decision, but it really wasn't like, anything like. I'm just gonna make this up. So this is a spoiler alert. This is not it, right? But like, say they choose somebody, and that guy gets a heart, and 7 years later he stops a bank robbery. You know what I mean? Like that guy, and they were all in the bank, and he saves the day. You know what I mean? Like that's very outlandish and ridiculous. But something like that, I was thinking, that's would have been the impact. And you could take it the opposite way. Maybe the guy, I don't know. You can get the idea. You can take it good or bad, and that's what I was expecting, or how they were impacted emotionally, and what it really wasn't there. It didn't. It was a little bit. They tried to allude to it, but it was a waste. The 7 year piece of it completely. But that's my thought. It was good. I like the whole idea. There's a plot there. I just think that what they gave us, and maybe this is the kind of stuff that they really debate in a heart transplant committee or organ transplant committee. I mean, really, that the way that they laid it out, it just seems so remedial, I guess. I don't know if that's the right term. It just doesn't seem like that would really happen with not rich, but experienced doctors. Like Kelsey Grammer was like the best doctor in New York, all that kind of stuff. It just, I don't know. Maybe that's what happens. But for me, I didn't expect that, and that kind of lowered my liking of the film. So interesting, but I don't like the way it portrayed on cinema. I don't know. All right. Hopefully that was helpful. It's interesting to see all these actors that I've seen over the years, and a little bit later in their career. Still did a good job, and I like, because they do 7 years, and Kelsey Grammer, they really had a, he looks one way and he looks another way 7 years from now. So, but all right, that's enough. I'm done. Hopefully I was helpful. Would I recommend watching it? I guess, but set your expectations low when you go into it. There you go. That's it. That's all. Thanks for tuning in. Kimmel's Irish Pub.